It was, of course, a very big day in the history of Fulton, Missouri, when President Truman and Winston Churchill paid their visit.
NATO has been around for 70 years, but things could have been different. Before NATO was formed, the Soviet Union dashed hopes for a larger United Nations role in maintaining world peace.
The strong lights were making things difficult for him, and at this point it was necessary to dim them, which rather spoils the picture, I'm afraid.
In 1946, Winston Churchill made his famous speech in Fulton, Missouri.
From Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, an iron curtain has descended across the continent.
In the same speech, he called for the creation of a UN military force, saying, "Surely we should work with conscious purpose for a grand pacification of Europe within the structure of the United Nations and in accordance with its charter." Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin had other plans. He was busy installing pliant regimes across Central and Eastern Europe. In 1947, President Harry Truman told the US Congress he wanted to use money to stem the communist tide.
One of the primary objectives of the foreign policy of the United States is the creation of conditions in which we and other nations will be able to work out a way of life free from coercion.
In June 1948, Moscow ordered a blockade of West Berlin, prompting a massive effort to fly in supplies, known as the Berlin Airlift. This had come just months after communists seized control in Czechoslovakia. It was becoming clear that the United States would need more than money to counter Soviet pressure. Even before the North Atlantic Treaty was signed in April 1949, Moscow branded it an instrument of Anglo-Saxon imperialism, which contravened the United Nations founding charter. At the treaty signing ceremony in Washington, D.C., Truman said the original plan had been for a UN peacekeeping force, but the Soviets had objected.
Within the United Nations, this country and other countries have hoped to establish an international force for the use of the United Nations in preserving peace throughout the world. Our efforts to establish this force, however, have been blocked by one of the major powers.
The United States never expected NATO to be around for long and hoped the situation in Europe would stabilise. It wanted a 10-year treaty, but finally agreed to 20 years. 70 years later, the alliance lives on.